welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, here we are back with the second half of the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. For 7 years, we've been sharing with you, actually just bottom line, guiding you to personal financial wellness, and that's why we brought one of our favorite experts back on the show. I think he's been on the show, I don't know, 24 times maybe. Our favorite insurance guru who actually handles mine and Gino's and everybody else we know we can possibly send them our way, Mr. Carlos Villalobos with Carlos Villalobos Insurance. Thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be with both of you. Looking forward to it.
Plus, he's one of our friends. He's a good dude.
Oh, well, thanks.
Well, it's nice because you want to have like somebody you feel comfortable with to work with. I mean, you call me and go, Don, we got to readjust your insurance. You just did. You just revamped all insurance between, well, we have a 19-year-old at the house now. That changed everything, huh?
Yeah, that kind of does it, doesn't it?
Who started driving. It's like, ooh, that's going to hurt.
The only thing I don't like about when Carlos comes over is he ends up costing me money every single time because there's something I didn't think about every single time.
Sorry.
Well, that's why we bring Carlos. I mean, a perfect example why we bring Carlos is because you can go online and find discount insurance, just like you can find discount lending. But you're not getting good advice. And we know what bad advice does. You're not covered. And there's a lot of people that are dealing with that right now due to all the catastrophes across California and Houston and Florida. I guarantee there's thousands and thousands of you out there going, shoot, I wish I would have listened to Don and Gino. I wish I would have listened to Carlos Villalobos and made sure I was properly insured. And a lot of people aren't. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about some of the insurance basics of what you think or don't know what is covered or should be covered versus something like those unfortunate souls that are in Montecito right now that had the mudslide. And I guarantee a lot of them probably weren't covered, were they, Carlos?
So here's the thing. Let me jump in before you start there, Carlos, is that the problem is that most people only get insurance because it's what they're required to do by their lender.
Sure.
Right? And so the lender's requirements are fairly simple and not very not very good coverage, let's say. Lender just wants that if the house burns down, that you'll rebuild the house as similar as possible, right? So that their collateral is protected. They don't care about anything inside of it. They don't care about a lot of different things. So people have minimum requirements, and that's just not good enough.
It is not. That has always been the problem, that the lender only wants fire protection. They could care less about water damage. They don't care about the liability exposure you might have. So a lot of people sometimes are not aware of that, and they go with the most inexpensive policy there is, not realizing that they're missing a lot of coverages that they can buy by getting an HO3 policy form. Which I'll explain a little bit later on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because you have some great, great highlights on what that policy covers or doesn't cover. So,
correct.
So a lot of you out there will be informed, and I bet you, hopefully, you're a little bit more aware of the importance of insurance now. I mean, when there's no catastrophe, it's funny how you're like, don't even think about it. You pay your bill. Why am I paying this much? Maybe I can get it cheaper. And then when you see people losing their homes due to fire or flood or mudslides or hurricanes or whatever, you might want to rethink about and
the
also importance of insurance.
The discount insurance company, right? So I had in my whole life I've had one major insurance claim, and it was over $150,000 claim. Thank goodness I was with a great company. They didn't make things difficult for me. Everything went smoothly, and everything went back as it's supposed to.
That's
now,
usually
that's
how
the
it works.
idea of insurance. Well, but I would say that potentially, depending on what insurance company you choose, it may not be that simple, right?
Yeah, there are pitfalls that you can have, and you need to be aware of them. A good example is what just happened in Santa Barbara, Montecito, that there's a big fire, and it takes away all the vegetation, everything else, and then the mudslides come. And that's excluded under most homeowners. So the people that lost their home, unless they had a flood policy in place, now it's going to be a hard time to rebuild, because even though the fire caused the vegetation to burn, the mudslide it's excluded from all homeowners policies with a few exceptions. But I guarantee you that I would say that 90% of those people did not have any coverage.
Well, what's funny is I guarantee a lot of you out there are listening going, well, since all the vegetation burned down, why didn't they just go get flood insurance? But you have to wait 30 days before it becomes into effect, right?
Right.
Because I thought about that because I remember calling you and there was a huge storm coming in. I live on a hill, and I'm like, hey, maybe I should get it right now. You're like, if it's about this storm coming?
It's a 30-day waiting period.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah, the only time there's not a waiting period is if you're getting a loan and you are forced to buy flood insurance.
Which means you have to be in a floodplain, in the flood maps.
Correct, and then there's all kinds of other factors that come into play. That being said, the flood maps change. FEMA changes them every so often. I mean, we just had another revision here in beautiful Newhall, California, where a lot of homes that were in the flood all of a sudden are not mandatory anymore.
Oh, wow.
So it's funny, but 100% of the people that had flood insurance are canceling it because, well, it's not forced anymore.
So I must not have a problem.
Yes, that is normal the way it works.
Because the
FEMA knows
government
everything.
always knows better than nature.
Yeah, that worked out well for New Orleans.
Right.
Well, most of those people, I'm sure, had flood insurance because they were in a flood basin. So,
Right.
But that being said, it's something that we don't think about. We just don't think about it. We think, oh, the homeowners covers everything. Well, it doesn't.
Right.
It just does not cover everything.
So mudslides is one of the exclusions, but as you were touching on, there's a lot of different exclusions. It's not just mudslides that are excluded. It's, you have a starting point, and then they start taking away things, right? Or they clarify, let's say.
Right. And usually the best way to look at it is pull out your homeowner's policy. And
That
there's
26-page thing you don't look
yeah,
at,
that's
right?
okay, but you should. As a consumer, you should. Because the bottom line is it doesn't matter what I tell you, and you might remember half of what I told you,
Right.
but that contract is what it is. So take out the policy and go under exclusions and see what's excluded. Because if it's not excluded, it's covered.
Oh, that's a good idea. I mean,
That's a
at
good
least
way to look.
yeah.
That's the way to go.
You know?
Okay, if you don't want to read the 24 things that
Yep.
are included,
Right.
read the
So
read the other
read the
list.
exclusions, right? Then you make notes and you go back to your agent, or better yet, call me at 661-255-8282. Talk to me and I'll explain it to you. Free of charge.
And he will, just so you know, this is not BS, because I call him and talk to him all the time. I know Gino does. Or you call me, I love it. And you'll go, hey, we're making some adjustments to your policy because this is why I found a better carrier to handle my rental, for example, because it was a unique situation because I'm in a fire zone with a pool and it's a rental. And you're like, that's not as easy as you think, Don.
Yeah, I mean, and having a swimming pool in a rental just at all is already a higher level of liability risk because, it's dangerous,
Correct.
right? A swimming pool's got an element of danger to it.
Yeah, and then the other element is, does the pool have a slide? Does it have a diving board? I mean, there's so many other factors that come into play for that particular. And there's carriers that don't want to do it. And then there's carriers that will do it, but instead of charging you $1,000, they want to charge you $3,000.
Right.
Remember, you can always buy insurance. The question is, what does it cover and what's it going to cost me?
Okay.
But there's always a policy out there that will fit your need.
Okay, so I'm going to teeter because we're heading into break, and I don't want you to go away because this is imperative these days. More than ever, we're going to talk about basically what's an HO3 policy or kind of a standard policy that a lot of us obtain. And Carlos is going to go through and detail a little bit more so you understand it better, because I guarantee you got a quote, you signed it, you know what the deductible is, and that's about it. So we're going to talk about some imperative pieces of your insurance when we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show for our final segment. It's going to be a good one.